Eastern Standard Time with Jeff Joff. I knew I was going to butcher it.
It's okay. It's Jeff.
Jeff. That's what I thought. And then it came out and I was like, nah, it's Joff. It wasn't. Anywho, welcome.
You can call me Joff. That's okay.
Thank you. I'll just call you.
Open mind, right?
Yeah, that works. Author of Leaving 2020 and a big time World Series global CPCM. We're going to have to talk about that. And thank you for coming on here, having this conversation with me, being inspired by my tofu eating and whatnot. Welcome.
Thank you, Karina. I am thrilled to be here today. You are one of my absolute favorite personalities on the LinkedIn platform. And this is a true story. I'm not saying this to butter you up because you're the host. That's
okay. It wouldn't work. I'm not easily buttered. I just let the butter slide right off.
Correct. You got to. Otherwise, you get a butter situation and nobody needs that.
Exactly. But I think but in all reality, it's like if I cling to all of the moments like that, then I lose sight of why people would compliment me in the first place, which is my personality, which is me being myself. So I do appreciate you saying it. I'm grateful. And I'm curious to know why, why are you interested in the stuff I put out? Especially on an artistic level, I feel like it really helps me understand the other person. And that's what I'm here to do in life, to connect with people genuinely.
Yes.
And yeah, so I'm interested to know how come.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, I want to say what's up to Osama, who's in the chat with us. Good to see you.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Welcome aboard, my friend. Good to have you with us.
Words of wisdom. It's great to have you. I love having him pop in. That's awesome.
Osama's a great guy. It's always awesome to have him on board.
Yeah, and I have a conversation with him tomorrow, my time, the 7th, his time. So nice. I'm excited about that.
I'm going to pop in and check that out.
Definitely.
So, Karina, what is great about Karina? Okay, so this is not a position for compliment.
Come on live. Tell me what's great about me, and I'll just sit here and eat tofu. How does that sound?
That sounds like just peak living, honestly. It just sounds like the top of the mountain of human existence, to hang out, just eat, and let somebody else on a live platform in front of God knows how many people just sing the praises of you. But
if you do it for me, I'll do it for you. So then that's equitable. How does that sound?
Quid pro quo. I'm all about that. Let's do it. I'm digging that.
Pro quo. Actually, on second thought, you're right. I did just kind of suggest a quid pro quo. What I meant was I'll love you unconditionally anyway.
And that's appreciated. No matter how we dress it up, no matter how we talk about it.
Exactly.
Honestly, Karina, okay, what I've been doing for so long with my company is helping people who have really, really deep-seated self-esteem issues, really deep-seated confidence issues, transcend that and self-actualize.
Masochist, though.
Yeah, 100%. I just become those people that we know that they are, but they don't know that they are.
Yeah, well, chances are you probably did that yourself for yourself.
100% I did. Absolutely. But I see you and I see somebody who's there. I see you are there, and it's amazing and inspiring and awesome to see, because you're not held back. And everyone has their own inner demons, but at least to the public, you're not held back by it. You're not playing small. You're not shrinking from the world. You're not concealing your talents. You're just what's up? This is me. This is me. This is my singing and my dancing and my writing and my pontificating and what's up? Here I am. And it's awesome.
And I'm just introducing myself, which is, there's so much more inside where all of this comes from. And yeah, I think part of it is just not really caring not about not caring. I feel like saying not caring makes it sound like I'm living with blinders, or that I don't but that's not true at all. No. I pay attention to what everyone thinks.
You're tuned in.
That's the thing that used to hold me back. But then once I realized that instead of using the word caring, I'll say not depending on outside affirmation to just live my life, I was freed. And it became something that, I'm going to show a couple of people's comments while I'm talking to you.
Yeah. We got Anna Maria in the house.
We got Anne Marie.
¿Qué tal?
They're chatting and saying hello. I hope you guys are doing well. If you have a question for either of us, we're actively looking at the chat, so please go ahead and drop one. Otherwise, we'll try to keep up with just like the things maybe you guys are talking about too. But regardless, like, yeah, I think that I go out there, I do what I do in private a little bit in public. But I guess I shouldn't really say a little bit, because I do what I do in private, in public, in physical world, and in the digital world is what it really is. Because I'm going to be acting like a fool or just being myself, like artistically, no matter who's watching, whether I'm sitting on my bike, just kind of like dancing around, or humming to myself while I'm trying to like enter my phone number into something. And like, for some reason, people find that really interesting. And I think that I'm supposed to pay attention to that. I think I'm supposed to pay attention to the fact that people find that interesting. And like, I am a very curious learner. So it's like, why do you find that interesting? And then when people answer me and tell me, basically, it's like, you're unique. And that kind of like, I really admire what you do, and trying to push people out of their comfort zone to get them, like Anne Maria, being you, doing your thing, like to try to get people to do that. I admire that, because it makes me sad that that's rare. It used to make me really sad that it's rare. Now I'm just kind of like, yeah, I guess it's rare, and if I do it more and more people see it, maybe it won't be as rare. That's kind of the attitude I hold on to now. But just the idea that it's so rare or unique or whatever is kind of like, how come? Like, we should all just do whatever the fuck we want out here.
All day. But, on some level, they're looking for permission to be themselves. And you give them that just by being you. And just by being out there, just by doing your thing and not caring, throwing caution to the wind, and waking up in the morning like, all right, I'm going to do me, I'm going to be me, and the whole world's going to see it, and that's what's up. And some of it you're all going to love, and some of it will just confuse the hell out of you, and you won't get it at all, and that's cool too, because this is me.
Oh yeah,
that's what it's all about.
I'm confused, and I hardly get it. I'm the one saying it.
Pick a number.
It's so true. I love that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's great. And I think it's great that you're doing it. I wish more people would do it. I think so much. And it's funny because Anna Maria and I were just talking about this today, about the reason so many people don't do it. Because so many people in their lives over the course of them, when they were younger, planted these seeds of doubt in their brain that you are not enough. You are too this, you are too that, insert pejorative here. And it gets internalized.
It totally does.
And you believe them. And you're like,
like, we want to do a speed round. The things I internalized are, I discover new ones every day. Like, I love too much, or I love too hard. I just am too much. But then I would always tell myself I wasn't enough. So riddle me that one. Don't know. But that's like the most common one. So I think that that's most important to really like everyone has that complex, that superiority, inferiority complex. And it's symbolic, but I'm leaving that in 2020. I know you understand that. We'll definitely talk about your book. I was hoping maybe, I don't know if you'd feel comfortable, but I'd love for you to read an excerpt of your choice. Or for everyone, because that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll do that when I eat my tofu.
Yeah. That sounds like a plan.
And, that's one of them, the inferiority, superiority deal. And then what else is there? The loving too much. That one's always been painful for me. I already said not good enough. What are a couple of yours? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh God, there's a laundry list that goes back. But some of them that they used to, and these are coming from teachers of mine. They used to say these kind of things to me. I mean, I got called every name in the book.
And stuff too. Let's not.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Relatives.
Hello, everyone on Instagram too.
Yeah, I mean, just like really, really vicious things. I remember, and I got it really bad once I started getting on stage and doing comedy. I'll never forget. the first show I did, there was a woman in the front row, and she started screaming at me. She said, "Get off the stage. You're a loser. You're nothing. You'll never amount to anything. You're a waste of human life."
No.
Like, oh, yeah. And I finally had enough. I looked at her and I said, "Grandma, enough. All right. I invited you here to support me. What's going on here? What are we doing?"
I just really hope someone thought that was your real grandma and tells that story. That's such a great way to deal with a heckler. I mean, literally.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I got it my whole life, growing up, and this was kind of normal. You just internalize it, and then after a while, you realize, what the hell am I internalizing? And then you just decide you're not going to internalize it anymore. You make that conscious choice, but the funny thing is, you never actually lose it. The question is, what do you do about it?
Yeah, because it's really programmed.
Yeah.
You know what I discovered recently is that I always like that phrase or that saying, our brain's a computer, but actually our brain is a macro computer that consists of a million, trillion, bajillion nanocomputers, and every neuron is a computer.
Yep.
And so literally every neuron that fires whenever we are having those thoughts and those feelings is another computer that we have to reprogram.
Oh, absolutely. We are like these massive supercomputers, like the ones they're building in China right now, the most advanced AI out there. And oh my God, Anna Maria is right. Benatti is the absolute expert at trolling the trolls. And yeah, she inspires me.
It's amazing to watch. There's a lot to learn. And Usama is right. He says that's how you rise. And I can
100%, man.
Completely true. Rising above is kind of all that there is. If you want to live a life of perseverance, because whether it's coming from ourselves or coming from our teachers or coming from our family or our romantic partners or wherever the energy is coming from, that idea of criticism and hyper judgment, all of that, it is a challenge. It is literally there to challenge us. And whenever a challenge arises, it's a question of, are you going to rise above it, or are you going to let it get the best of you and rule you? And that's life.
That's life. Absolutely. I like to look at the whole thing as the paradigm of people and a bird. And ultimately, we are the birds, and everybody around us are people who interact with this bird. Now, some people want to just harm the bird. They want to just kill it. They're just sadists. Some people want to just cage the bird, and we find those people a lot. They want to cage your energy. They want to cage your ability to be yourself, to fly, to spread your wings. They keep you in this cage. Some others are the healers, and they want to fix your wings, and they want to open up the cage, and they want to send you out to fly, because nothing would make them happier than seeing you self-actualize, than seeing you fly.
Yeah.
Seeing you become what you were always meant to become. But so often we just kind of internalize what the cagers try to beat into our brains, that you can't do this, you shouldn't do that, you're not enough to do this. And then every time we have this great moment, this opportunity to self-actualize, to realize, to do all these amazing things, that's all we hear. That's all we hear. That's the soundtrack that's going over and over again. So that the real hard work is, how do you push through that in that moment? How do you still keep going?
In the moment. That's the most important part. Don't wait. Don't be I'm going to deal with that another time and put that in this box. And don't do that, because, and I'm saying, don't do that to me, because we have.
I won't. I promise. You got my word.
I'm telling myself. No, I wouldn't think you would do that to me at all. But I'm just saying, I'm telling myself, don't wait. It has to be the present moment, because all there is now. So if I ignore it now, then it's going to come back tenfold, and then it's going to hurt like a bitch, and I'm going to have so much more difficulty dealing with it, Anna Maria loves this metaphor, and I do too. And you know what I really love about it, though, is that anyone can be any of those versions. Yeah. Because Lord knows I've been every single one of those versions. I have been and I'm only 23, but I have lived to be all of those people. I have been the person, I'm trying to think if it's a person. I guess so. Like in terms of the bird, I have been the person that's like self-destruct that bird or destruct that bird. Like hit it. Not necessarily for the joy of seeing it die, but because I was dead within myself. And I thought, misery loves company, for one. And for two, I have tried to cage that bird out of shame and out of that insidious not enoughness concept. And I am the person now and will have a dedicated commitment to be the person who heals from that and seeks to heal in life. And so like that idea of like, this is just who I am. Nope, that doesn't work for me. I will heckle the heckler there. Like, that's not just who you are, because I didn't know better. Like, not better than you, just better than that mindset, because I hold the mindset. So it's just not a good enough excuse.
No, and that's just life, right? It's just this learning experience, and nobody's born with it all figured out. And if we did, how boring would that be?
I love this conversation that Usama and Anna Maria have going on.
I know, me too. We got popcorn, we have technology. Got Usama born in the wrong century. I'm kind of with you. I'm glad I was born in the 20th century, because I wouldn't want to deal with like an actual plague and things like that. But I was definitely born in the wrong decade. That I'll give. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's weird, and I'm like metaphysical about shit, but like I think we all were supposed to deal with the viral pandemic because we're here. Like Usama said, it's like you are born at the right time in the right moment, and our idea that we're not. And I don't know Anna Maria well enough to like make this a conclusive statement and be like, yes, you are, because this, and this. You're meant to be here to learn this lesson because for some reason you're resisting it. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say I know better and that that's the reason why you're here. I'm just saying, like, I know in my experience, I've felt like I'm just not good enough at technology, and that I was born in the wrong century, and that I'm a Renaissance woman and I would have been better off at some other time, like, or whatever. I wouldn't have, because if I was born in the 1500s, like, I wouldn't have been a Renaissance woman. I would have sewn a handkerchief or something. You
would have probably been burned as a witch, if we're just being honest.
I really would have.
Like, for real, like, you wouldn't stand a chance. And neither would I. I'd be a dead man.
I mean, if I was born in a lot of different periods of time, I would have been born as a witch at the stake very fast.
Yep.
And, like, the moment I went out collecting for fresh herbs and shells and rocks or whatever the fuck, and started building like clay sculptures out of mud. See, another Renaissance woman. But the thing is,
I don't really know what's up.
Women, I've got to say directly to you, Renaissance people really embrace technology, even in its complications and even in our resistance to it, because it's a new medium.
Yeah.
And I say it with this face because, like, I hated that. I hated having to accept that. Like, but I did. I've accepted it. I have embraced it. I have taken it on as a new challenge. And, like,
wizardry. That's great.
I learned something new about it, So embrace the wizardry.
I love that. Yeah, embrace it. I mean, what it is, right? It's kind of modern day wizardry. I would have definitely been stoned, hanged, burned, whatever, for mocking the king, because I wouldn't have waited 5 minutes before I did that.
Like with a robe and like with shiny stars on it, though. Like,
yeah. There's something about it, though. It just not even on Clubhouse. I've been hearing about this Clubhouse thing. Are you familiar with this Clubhouse?
That's what I was about to say. She said she's on Clubhouse. I'm like, wow, so avant-garde. I just heard about it yesterday. Like, it's something new, a merger with Twitter happening. They're calling it CH, which I don't know what that stands for on the periodic table, but it just makes me think of that. And no, I don't know anything beyond that except for people who are very savvy I've been seeing getting on Clubhouse. So that might be another thing we're adapting and joining and being like, what?
It's one more thing. It's why, I'm at my limit. I'm maxed out.
I feel
I can't do it,
I think what it really is about testing and seeing what works. Like I've been figuring out what channels work for me and which really don't. Like, honestly, I don't remember last time I even posted on Facebook. I try, but it's like, I love my aunt and my mom's friend, but it's like, if they're the only one that's going to be seeing it consistently and I have X amount of seconds in a day, and I just need to like figure out which ones and stick to them. And I figured it out through testing. Like I've seen what my engagement looks like, and I try to spread it out on as many channels as possible because I value what people on Facebook like have to say and whatever. It's just that you can only do so many things. Like,
yeah, I don't see it as being your audience on Facebook. Facebook's where people want to argue politics with their aunt, and that's just,
but the reality is that I think people do post on Facebook a lot, but Facebook is programmed, like the algorithms are programmed to show conflict because it gets more engagement. So it's unfortunate, but it's true. And let's see, she says it's super addictive and having telephone conversations with a lot of strangers. Is that super addictive? That's interesting.
It might be.
Do you feel that way, Anna Maria? Because I've just never heard someone say that, I don't think. So it's interesting to me. But yeah, positivity and cultivation. That's what I found we can really gain out of connecting with people and just trying to stick with joy and all of that. You can cultivate a lot.
Yeah, Facebook is an unrealistic world. Usama's right. It's a place where, like to your point, the algorithms they steer you into a perspective that's not aligned with actual reality.
Echo chamber.
100% just sucks you into this place, and then one thing about shameless plug, Leaving 2020 talks about these kind of tunnels that people build, and they get trapped in these tunnels and they don't see anything outside of the tunnels. They don't see possibility. They don't see adventure. They don't see wonder. They don't see dreaming. They don't see a different perspective on anything. They see their own narrow tunnels, and others fortify it and build it for them. And they get trapped in it. And Facebook is the greatest tunnel builder of them all. They are the absolute granddaddy master of the tunnel builders.
They know how to funnel all of the tunnel vision.
They do.
Yeah.
Like a vortex, like a black hole. Not even light can escape its gravity. It just sucks you in.
Oh, I know, man. I know.
It's its claws into you. Yeah, I use it. I used to use it mostly, not as much anymore, just kind of an outlet for my comedy. So before I would do shows, I would just post a bunch of jokes on Facebook and see what stuck. I would just kind of focus group the stuff out there. But now you can't do that anymore because something you say is going to rub somebody the wrong way. It's going to create a fight about something that was meant as a joke, but everyone's going to start sniping at each other, and then it loses all the fun. So it's the hell with it.
Well, we can do it. It's just on different platforms. We can do it on LinkedIn now.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what I'm using LinkedIn for, at least half the time.
Mm-hmm.
As much of reference as I can possibly get my claws into.
I really feel that. That's smart. Well, would you like to read an excerpt from your book, Leaving 2020?
Oh, yeah. Actually, it's funny. I'm actually waiting for the batch of hard copies to get in right now. So give me a quick second here.
Yeah, take your time. I'm curious to hear about like just the process to like author to author, because I've been just trying to I've got my picture book is all picture. So the formatting has been a pain in my butt.
Oh, I believe it.
I've been back and forth sending files to the prototype since like it was my birthday present to myself. So November, just to get one physical copy to look at it. So I would love to hear about like what your process with publishing and everything has been, and just hearing about that too, because that's like such an important thing to talk about nowadays. I think so many people are moving toward self-publishing and book writing and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. I think the most important thing is, like anything else, and I'm sure, Karina, of all people, you can appreciate this, the absolute necessity of being in a flow state while you're doing it, while you're writing it, while you're creating it. You cannot force it at all. So anybody out there, if you are thinking of writing a book,
it's so hard to.
You got to do it when you're rolling. You've got to do it when the brain is stimulated. You cannot do it by just having a screen in front of you and typing and having an idea, because nothing's going to happen. Nothing good is going to happen. Wait until you're just on fire with this idea and you can't think of anything else except actualizing it, and then put on some music to get you into a flow state. Mm-hmm. Everyone's music's going to be different.
You know what I'm really into this year? Like in reflection of the past year, reflecting 2020, I realized like I listened to hemisync vibrations and just like the natural like hertz of the planet more than I listen to any music or any podcast or anything like that in the past year. And like I have it up right here: manifest miracles, attraction 432 hertz, elevate your vibration. I don't know what that means. I just want to hear like subtle tones in the background and cut out all of the noise. Which is what we were talking about earlier. Those like ideas of no, like I can't do it, I'm not good enough. All the thing that a person said to me that one time, all of that is just noise. And our highest level of consciousness is not tuned into that frequency. My partner Damani describes it as radio frequency, and that and this is exactly also kind of ties into what we're talking about with like Clubhouse being addictive and all of that, is that we at one point as humans designed digital, but the world runs on analog. Like the universe runs on analog, and our frequencies run analog, and and the radio is analog. Like we tune in and we can control what you tune. You can control what you tune into. I can listen to the 100 Billboard top hits and like have the media machine funnel what is interesting to me and think that that's all that there is in existence. Or I could just sit. It's kind of like random because it's like technically still a radio station, but it's like I could just sit and listen to.
Yeah.
And honestly, I find that more peaceful.
You just tuned into it. You're good.
Yeah, but not actually, because I would much prefer like actual. The thing about hemisync vibrations is that like, like have you ever heard Saturn's rings? Like Saturn, like that's what it is. Like actually the sound of like space. That's what I like to listen to, not just like radio buzzing, but it's the same idea.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love that.
Right.
So I'm going to read an excerpt.
Please do.
And this is from chapter 5. And to me, this is kind of the foundation in many ways of the book. So the main character, Sean Gallo, he leapt off of his building in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It was April 30th, 2020, and he had enough. He just had enough of life, couldn't handle it anymore, finally over the breaking point. But when he leapt, he didn't find himself dead, and he didn't quite find himself alive. He found himself in a strange realm which he couldn't put his finger on. And in this chapter, he finds himself face to face with a character called the Shadow. Now, the Shadow in this book was really written as a kind of almost a physical manifestation of what depression is. If like depression were a person, were an actual villain that talked to you, that had conversations with you, and that was driving things, this is who it would be. It would be the Shadow. And the essence of the Shadow's work in 2020 is that the Shadow is trying to use 2020 to convince people that there's nothing left worth fighting for, nothing left worth living for. So this is a conversation that Sean has with the Shadow. So
it reveals this truth to Sean.
Exactly, yeah. So he's talking to Sean about kind of where he's at on this. So Sean asks him to say, so if you get everyone to commit suicide like I did, is this how you win? So the Shadow said, no, this isn't about suicides, as you call it. This is so much greater. This is about convincing them all to abandon this mistake once and for all. this mistake of existence. The suicide methodology is simply one way, but it's not without its problems too. Some see their friends or family members commit suicide and resolve to live for these people vicariously, to do things in their honor, to set up foundations, to work overtime, to shatter the tunnels of others, to prevent them from going down the same road. So no, the real success happens when they simply stop trying, when they resign themselves to a world of no light, a world of no further creation. They just stop. Then, once the light stops, everything stops, and everything becomes nothing. Sean says, wait, but people they're fighting this though. They're adjusting to this new normal. At that point, the shadow started laughing audibly. Now there was a supervillain that Sean had been waiting for. He said, you call it fighting, but I call it building their tunnels. See, don't you see? This new normal means I've already won. It means they've abandoned their kinetic connection to each other once and for all. Your new normal sees each other not as luminous beings, steeped with possibility, but as nothing more than the crude sum of your animal parts. You see each other as walking biological weapons, as dangerous to one another. You avoid each other with all you have. And the truest sign that I'm winning is this. When you see sparks lit amongst yourselves, gathering as a family unit for a celebration, mingling among friends, singing, dancing, marching for a cause which your passion demands, you revile each other for it. You do not celebrate this connection among your fellow travelers. You scorn them. You call them killers. Your entire existence has been reduced to mere biological survival, which is a tacit acknowledgement of my truth, that your reality is flawed, broken, to be feared, and anything that perpetuates it must be brought to an end. You think you can leave 2020 when your calendar changes? No. You could never leave 2020 as long as you see each other like this, perceive your reality and each other as dangerous, and actively work to extinguish your sparks. On this path, you'll never leave 2020, and eventually, you'll all be mine, and we'll all disappear forever.
I was hanging on to every syllable. Like story time. That's amazing. I have so much. Okay. Power versus force is the first thing that comes to mind. Just in general, like the way that you, the words you chose to use, like shadow work, the work of the shadow, caught that for sure. And that shadow work is what's the work that's necessary to be able to transcend beyond. Like to be able to look back and be like, I love the 3-year-old version of me. I love the 4-year-old version of me. Like I forgive all of these parts of myself. That's how we can, if we show compassion to ourselves, we can show compassion to others. If we show compassion to others, force and all its entities don't have the power to, tap into us. We have transcended. We know consciousness. We are pure consciousness. And so, I mean, mic drop, like, period. Like, what else to say?
Yeah. And that's really kind of the essence of it, is this shadow, that this kind of depressive force is always trying to convince people to not try, to not do, to not be, to not create, to convince them that existence itself, consciousness itself, is a mistake and needs to be erased. So the shadow in this book, really, the diabolical mission, if you will, of this villain is to not simply have people commit suicide, because that doesn't end consciousness. It's to have consciousness itself, existence itself, utterly and completely erased. And that the shadow didn't create 2020. The shadow simply capitalized on 2020. Kind of to make his point to everybody that, you see, I told you, this whole thing that you've all created together is a mistake. It's all a mistake, and it needs to end. You need to bring it to an end. So that this hero's journey, in a lot of ways, is about finding different characters along the way to convince him to keep going, and all the different components of existence, everything from creativity to art to humor to love to connection and friendship, and all these different aspects of existence, to reinforce to Sean that it is worth fighting for. It is worth creating. It is worth living. It is worth loving. It is worth all of it.
It is.
It's kind of this battle that goes on. It's this light versus darkness raging at each other.
It's such a timely conversation, and I love the man, so I'm going to bring him up again. I was having this conversation with my partner earlier today. I wasn't expecting to even have this conversation. We were just, as I had shared with you, we were like both informed, or I didn't tell you about him too, but we were informed that we were exposed to somebody who then positive test for COVID. He just got his test results back negative. His sister's negative. His mom's negative. His dad, we're fine. Like I got my test, or I haven't got my test results back, but I'm sure that I'm feeling okay. Regardless, like this is my first encounter with that. I'm surprised it's taken this long, to be honest. But kind of not, because I've been very, very safe. Regardless, it's like a challenge we're all going to have to face at some point or another. And I knew I knew the inevitable state of that. And it's interesting because just yesterday I had written, I'll share with you what I wrote.
Yep.
Very short. If I can find whichever notebook it is, oh, here it is.
And we have a COVID slayer in the chat, as it turns out.
Oh, who's that? Who's the COVID slayer? I haven't.
Anna Maria kicked COVID's ass back.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, congratulations to you.
She's got tiger blood now.
Oh yeah. Maybe I want COVID just so I can get tiger blood. No, I'm just kidding. I know I shouldn't joke like that at all. We kind of have to make a little bit light of.
You got to. You laugh or you cry at these things.
Tiger blood's pretty fucking cool sounding, is all.
Isn't it though? Right? She's legit.
Trying to say.
She's not like Charlie Sheen, who just did a lot of drugs and said he had tiger blood. Like Anna Maria legit has tiger blood now.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, you've earned your stripes for real.
For real. It's like walking through the fire, and like getting the other side of it. Like, all right, what's up?
And even I just had like a taste of that. Like it's interesting because you had asked me how my new year was going. And my answer was kind of like, it's weird. Like, I think people are like, new year, new me, ha. But I've been feeling at that point very like kind of fogged and just like, what is life like here? And it's a lot because of, I think in retrospect, like what you were saying, like I saw a meme that put it together perfectly for me. It was like Scorpios looking at everybody else saying, 2021 is like going to fix all their problems. And I'm just like, like looking around like, what are we doing? And
that's not how this works.
Yeah. And it made me feel like pretty fogged. And, I moved past the fog and then I started feeling a little bit better. And I'll tell you chronologically. So then yesterday morning, I woke up and I set my partner and I alternate on a one-word intention for the day. Hi, David. Thanks and welcome.
What's happening, David? Good to see you, buddy.
And everyone's saying we're killing the show, which is thank you for saying. So I'm immunized. That's is I say that word? Immunized.
Yeah.
Regardless, that's awesome, and I'm glad that you got your tiger blood. And I had woken up. We were setting our one-word intention for the day, and I was choosing what it was, and so I chose balance. And I had written January 4th, 2021, intention, balance, feeling of deep, constant presence. On this day, we take each moment as it comes, and we let it go as easily as it came. On this day, we may be feeling more energized and mentally clear than the past several days. Drawing into the awareness of this possibility, we ground ourselves in patience. Rather than rushing the pendulum to swing from one extreme to the other, we are conscious in our breath, and we work on our current projects in increments. We are restoring balance and permanently transcending beyond harmful patterns. On this day, we emphasize the practice of whole body cellular repair. We recognize that although we are eager to feel better already, we have residual toxins within us. We, on this day, align our chakras, balance. And so I woke up, I decided the mantra, or I meditated, I think first, I don't remember. I decided like my intention for the day is going to be balance. I wrote this, I sent it to my partner, told him what the intention for the day was going to be, and just kind of started going about my day, doing the normal thing, sending Calendly invites and, organizing my email and all that stuff. And I had gotten a call from Damani, and he told me about the situation that like he had some jarring news, and that he's been trying to clear his head. And, he just said like, yeah, we might like be exposed. So get a test, basically. He didn't say that, but I was already looking up where I could get a test. And basically went to go get a test pretty immediately. And I was proud of how we both handled the situation. Like, we don't operate out of fear. Like, I don't ever operate out of fear. I just kind of try to take every moment as it comes. But I just thought that it was really poignant of what I had written for myself on that day, because I needed that message. Like, I needed to know, I needed to hear we emphasize the practice of whole body cellular repair. Mm-hmm. We're eager to feel better already. I was sitting there like, do I have COVID? Like freaking out, and that like we have to recognize that, and that we have residual toxins within us. And like, that doesn't have to mean actually virally. It just like, it meant like mentally, like what I was referring to when writing this was that I had been feeling foggy. I had felt a little bit, not too bad, but like some lost sense of purpose, and kind of just like, am I just running the rat race? Like what, like those kinds of thoughts, like, is it worth it? Do I want to be here? And like those negative thoughts. And it's like the moment that it was called into question, a moment that I thought, oh shit, like I could die. Like I just knew I didn't want to. And It might sound like silly or dramatic, but there are moments in life that I have not known that I didn't want to. And
no, I hear you.
Yeah. Loud and clear. And I'm going to catch up on some of the things people are writing, but
David's got a podcast to record, so good luck with that, sir.
Yes, best of luck.
And
you're thinking about your body and how you've manifested it. And I think that the beautiful thing is like, that's why we're here. This is all what we're here for, is to like remind each other these things, and just kind of remember, like I've definitely neglected exercise in the past year, and not for the reason of like, oh, I want to look a certain way, just like that would be the reason I'd want to get back into it. No, because I need to not stay in this cement box all of the time. That's the reason why. Like, I need to get fresh air and exercise. So I know I've felt that way, and little by little, like, I decided today to take a bike ride, like stuff like that. And you're right, there isn't anything silly about it. It's very silly.
It's legit. It is, and unless you walk that road out. There was somebody who put a post on LinkedIn in the past week, and some of you know him, so I'm not going to ever call anybody. He's a great guy too, so I don't want to say anything to disparage anybody. But he started out by saying, "I've never experienced depression. I've never suffered from depression." So, but those of you who do, here's all the things you need to do, and you'll feel better, and all this kind of stuff. So I want to read it, and I wanted to comment so badly and say, you lost me at, I've never suffered from depression. So like it invalidates literally everything else you've said after that.
You could have commented that if that's how you felt.
It is, but he was coming from a good place.
Yeah.
Genuinely and legitimately. It was not I don't even know, how do you call this one? Mental health splaining place. But it was a
good intention. But
good intention.
I have really stood firm in this. It's like, intentions matter. They do. That at the end of it, it's about the action, and if our intention is to do better and to help people, we really need to know the truth to be able to do that.
Yeah, 100%. And
so it's just a perspective. I'm not saying, oh, you should have done it like you did something wrong. I'm just saying, like, I mean, if that's the truth in that situation and in that moment, like, you are saying that because you've experienced it, and they are saying that because they're trying to empathize with people who experience it.
Yeah.
So the feedback of you saying, like, if you haven't experienced this, then you don't really know what it's like, is actually really valuable feedback, I think.
Yeah.
And
I think there was a tactful way to do it.
Yeah. Maybe not just like, you lost me at this point, but like.
But I don't want to put the guy on blast. I mean, he's a good guy. He really is a good guy.
And I also think, like, I don't know who the individual is, but like, there's real power in like not putting people on blast and like just messaging them separately, or like trying to just like reach them directly and being like, I saw this thing you put out, made me think this, made me feel this. I'm glad you are focusing on like talking about it. I just want you to have like deeper perspective, since it's something you think is important to talk about, and like, that's a place of love. That's not harshness or
100%. It's very similar to other kind of paradigms, right? Where you want to, for lack of, and not to be cliche about it, but really to be an ally, and to say, I understand that this is a struggle that people are dealing with, and I want to help in any way that I can, even though I have not experienced it personally. I recognize that for a lot of people, this is a very difficult thing. And I think it would have probably been a better received message had it come out and said, look, I've never experienced this. And for those of you who do, I can only imagine how difficult it is. Just know that I'm here for you. And I think that would have been so much better received.
Just so be, because that's all we want. That's all we want.
And I said, what can I do to help? Let me know. Like, what can I do to help you? And that's good, rather than it's going to be fine, snap out of it, do this, do that. Like, you can't, it just doesn't work that way. And
it doesn't. It doesn't though. It's like, it does, because when that person is mentally, chemically, emotionally, physically ready for that moment to snap out, they can. I've snapped out of it before. But I never snap out of it by someone being like, snap out of it.
Snap out of it.
Doesn't happen that way.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't happen on anyone else's schedule. Like,
and it makes it a whole lot worse as opposed to making it better.
It can, because it makes you. It does. There is that level of like shame. Like, if I could, I would. You know.
Like, you think I'm choosing this? Really? Is this? Come on. Yeah. I mean, but some people really believe that. Actually, some people have that belief that you're just being dramatic and you're this and that, and there's just. And you get a lot of blowback for that, and you get a lot of fanning of the flames. Yeah, but I think that comes from a place of not wanting to deal with it. People not wanting to acknowledge that you're dealing with it.
I think that can be the case, but what I really believe is that, and this is hard because I do believe it's true in all of its difficulty, that people are doing the best that they can.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean we can't hold people accountable. And it doesn't mean we shouldn't hold people accountable. We should. We definitely should. Especially whenever they're out there causing real harm. People cause violence. People do terrible things.
Absolutely.
Those people need to be held accountable. But I really believe that they're doing the best that they can, even though it makes my gut turn. Like,
yeah, everyone's the hero of their own story, right? That's the crazy thing about it, and then on some level they are, and that's the real crazy part about it. I think on some level they really believe that this is how I max out. Like, this is it. This is all I've got. So whatever happens at this point forward, I have no accountability for. I'm absolved of it. There's a journey. There's that self-reflection. There's a self-discovery. There's that sense of, I want to be better. I want to do better. I want to heal. I want to get there. But somebody telling you, hey, you're fine, snap out of it, get there. It's okay.
They're showing compassion in its entirety. Like, they might not be capable of that at that point in time. And it's not really anything to do with the person that they're attacking, honestly. Or not attacking, maybe even just saying like a harsh, like quick quip that like wasn't even meant to be anything big. But like the hard part is when we're in that negative mental space, it's easy to take things personally. And that's like, whoa, do you hear that in the
Everything
back?
good over there? It's funny because usually my place is the noisy one. This is really unusual.
Wow.
Get a half an hour of quiet here.
That is crazy. Yeah, there's a little parking strip down there, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, I just believe that people, even whenever they suck, are doing their best, and that doesn't mean I allow people to. I set very clear boundaries, but that's the reason why I am able to be compassionate with those people. Yeah. I do not want a sexual sadist in my direct presence.
No, ideally not.
By any means, and I won't allow them to be near me, and I won't.
That wouldn't be optimal.
You know, it would not be even close. At the same time, somehow that person's doing the best that they can. It gives me shivers.
Yeah. It's a paradox.
It's
like, yeah, they're, you know, the greatest villains always thought they were the greatest heroes.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. I mean,
they just like literally were so broken that they don't know anything beyond like just being a monster, you know, like and then you see people in that light, and it's kind of like you see the brokenness inside, and the perverse you know, the ways that they've been adulterated and all of these painful things. And it's like, again, to hit home on this, it doesn't excuse a single fucking thing. Like, you will be locked up, like, and punished to the fullest extent of the law. At the same time, I can have compassion for you in my heart, even though, and that only comes from healing those parts of myself that have been all of those things to myself, like the sadist and the terrible masochistic feelings of like, yeah, like make me hurt, baby, like, or whatever. Not in like such a literal way, but like that's not my experience. If it was, I would say so. You know?
Yeah, some people are all about that.
Some people have that challenge, and some people, you know, I'm just using those as examples because there are extremes. But like, it's just the truth, you know. I see those parts of myself, and because I can see those parts of myself, I can show myself compassion, and because I can show myself compassion, I can show others compassion.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anna Maria's comment there. Yeah, until I feel that showing compassion to the humans hurting and inflicting hurt while still holding them accountable for their behavior. It's a fine line to walk. It really is. It's a tough line to walk, because most people tend to be really on the extreme of one or the other. You have people who utterly and completely enable that kind of behavior, make excuses for it, give air cover to it. Like, oh, it's fine. Well, they had a tough childhood, so whatever, it's fine. Well, no, it's not. It's not fine. No,
I'm not gonna cut it.
It's not fine. Then you have the others who say, well, that person is an, you know, absolutely irredeemable monster, and you know, and you strip their humanity of them.
Penalty.
Yeah, because you lose the ability to separate the person from the action, and the action becomes the person in your mind, and then you utterly and completely dehumanize that person beyond the point of redemption, beyond the point of healing.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's like this it's like crazy polarized kind of reaction, and yet, like most things in life, the truth kind of lies somewhere in the middle, where you can acknowledge something was really heinous and that there needs to be accountability for it. No questions asked, but that there can also be a redemption arc somewhere in there too. And, you know, some of the greatest stories come from redemption arcs.
Sometimes redemption looks like just accepting that something happened.
Yeah.
And not, you know, so I think that there's this idea that like, oh, just forgive and forget, or yeah, like invite that person back into your life. No, like you can forgive someone and never allow them access to you ever again.
That's exactly where I am with somebody who was formerly one of my closest friends.
So me too.
So you can appreciate this then. I cut them out.
Behind.
Yeah, done egregious things. I mean, like monstrous things to not just me, to many, many people, and cut them out. And over time, you get to see that this is a very broken person. This is a very deeply hurt person. It's, they say hurt people, and it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I no longer bear any ill will, and I no longer hold any grudges, but it doesn't mean that I'm willing to open my life back up to let that happen all over again, because this person I know has not had any kind of healing journey of their own. They're still stuck in that place. So you opened yourself up. They're coming at you, not from a new place. They're coming at you from that same place.
Right.
Yep. And they come at you from that same place. Guess what? You're getting the same damn thing.
Even if they have healed, you still don't have to accept
and you don't have to. That's right. You don't have to. You're not under any obligation.
Less of a person, or like smaller or less compassionate or whatever. Like it's your choice.
Absolutely. I mean, that is your choice. It is a personal choice. And you can't be guilt tripped or shamed into doing it. And this is, I think it's a big thing too. You have this kind of guilt and this shame that people say, oh, you got to forgive them. Come on, look, they're sorry. It's fine. Let's all be simpatico again. Like, no. That's not happening. Sorry. And I don't feel any guilt about that. At some point, and Corinne, I'll give you a lot of credit, because you are at an age where most people have not even begun to figure this out yet. Like not even scratch the surface of figuring this out yet.
Yeah, no, straight up. Like Anna Maria said, if we were real wizards, we could make people snap out of it. But I don't know if I am a wizard or what, because I look around and I am at an age where, like, I don't know. I think I've just like am becoming more and more aware that people go their entire lives without asking the questions that I ask in an hour of a day. And I'm like barely emerging from adolescence. I said I was 23. I'm 24. I keep doing that. 24.
I won't hold it against you.
I can't even rent a car or, a house for that matter. Like, but at the same time, like I know the law of attraction and I manifest miracles and I like understand what it is to elevate my own vibration, and I sit in my suffering and I, do all those things. And, people don't do that once a lot of the time before they leave this plane.
No, they don't.
And that's just like wild to me. And again, like about the rarity thing that we had talked about in the very beginning of this, like if that's rare, then all I can say is like, I don't want it to be. And maybe it's not as rare as we think. Maybe people just aren't open yet to sharing it. And if they see us doing it, maybe they will.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. It'd be great if it were a lot more common. I think it would be great for them, but it'd be great for all of us.
And I think we have to accept and be open to infinite possibilities, that we are emerging into a special time. I don't think everything is deserted because the year has changed and the page has turned, not close. But even on a metaphysical level, where we're at scientifically, and understanding that we are emerging into quantum physics and the quantum enigma, and we are digressing from, or transcending beyond rather, a Newtonian idea of the world, where, like we said earlier, everything is computational and zeros and ones and binary systems and digital. Everything, what it really is it's multi-layered, it's multifaceted, it's stacked on top of itself, it's multidimensional and analog, and all of these really complex ideas that we don't understand. But even scientists are looking at that and saying, oh, like, this has to do, consciousness is the spirit. Like, there's room for science and spirit. And, it's ironic because I think we kind of are like de-evolving, because like ancients of ancients knew all of this shit and built all of their cities like on it. So I really have a theory that I have very little of solid evidence for, that I just feel like is true, that we evolved from AI to Neanderthals to Homo sapiens.
Kind of going around and around.
Back and forth, yeah. And like we're merging back into AI. So like,
yeah, it's interesting to think about, isn't it? Just kind of the trajectory of this whole thing. There's a really cool YouTube channel I think you'd like. It's called The Pursuit of Wonder. There's some really, really good videos in there, and it's animations, and it's done by a narrator, and it talks about stories, about all these theoretical things about beginning and the end of the universe, all these things they're in, deeply philosophical things about life itself and about pondering and different paths you can take and quantum entanglement, and it's really good stuff. I think it's be right up your alley. Yeah,
I would love that. Yeah. Anything about quantum entanglement, I'm like intrigued.
Yeah, and I always find myself caught between these two worlds. So about, I would say, 8 years ago, I went down a deep, deep, deep rabbit hole of, for lack of, and I don't normally love the term New Age. I think it's a little disparaging, but because there's a lot of hucksters, within that realm, and a lot of people who are utterly unqualified to discuss anything about anything, who are speaking authoritatively about everything. But I got kind of roped into that for reasons I won't get into here. But the eye opener for me was the quote Mayan apocalypse. And by these same people who I'd really, I bought their books, listened to their lectures, went all in, and they said there was going to be an utter calamity on that day, and there was going to be a pole shift, and the volcanoes exploding, and the whole thing. And then they just kind of came and went. And I remember it was just a cold day in New York, and I was drinking some spiked eggnog with my brother, watching Home Alone 2. Like, well, okay, so there's that. And then I realized something, that those who claim to have all the answers need to be looked at with the most skeptical of eyes. And that was a great learning experience for me, and it's something I never forgot. The problem is with that is that in some ways, because of that, I went too far down the other way, which was, the hardcore skeptic realm.
Yeah.
It was, not opening myself to anything mystical or anything transcendental or anything like that, because I've been taken in by so many frauds. So I feel like I've kind of come halfway back home now, where I have a very open mind about these things, and I won't rule anything out, but I still need to see some evidence, and I still need to see some compelling reasons why people believe what they believe.
Yeah. I think that that's fair in order for you to believe it too,
Right, absolutely. Yeah. It makes sense to me, not just to somebody else, and then I read their book.
Yeah.
Okay,
this is true. Like, I understand this, and this is the way that the world was formed. Like, yeah, I get that. I really get that. And it's a slippery slope in either direction, really. And yeah, I think the most wise beings that have ever come and left this earth, or who are still here, are those that only know for certain that they know nothing. And I am of that same mindset. I don't know that I'm one of the wisest beings on the planet. I'm just saying that I definitely am of that mindset. And I think that's important to hold on to, because once we do that, we liberate ourselves of the idea that we have to have all the answers. We liberate ourselves of the idea that everything has to be figured out right now in this moment. And that frees us to the possibility of that being something that we can accomplish. I am open to the possibility that the world can become a better place, and that we can actually focus on collectivism, and we can unite as a global society, and that we don't need nationalist facades, and that we have to pick teams and believe that like we're better than one another. We can still play games. Like you can still play games, but you don't have to.
We'll have the Olympics in this collectivist utopia, right? So we can still.
Yeah, it's just like not the version of the like Olympics, which is gladiator, that we all murder each other naked.
Right. I mean, you can't take the Argentina-Brazil soccer game away from them. You can't do that.
I really want to. It brings so much joy.
Yeah, all day.
What I do want us to move beyond. I don't want to take away. I just want us to move beyond the idea that because you're from Argentina, you are nothing, and I'm from Brazil, which means I must be the best, or vice versa. Like that's the thing that we can kind of move beyond.
Yeah, I think there's, particularly to Anna Maria's point about your generation specifically, I think there's kind of an awakening and a consciousness about that is, even very much lost on my contemporaries. So I'm kind of like right on that level. I'm like the youngest kind of Gen Xer and the oldest millennial, depending on who you ask,
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I think we come from the last real generation of those walls.
Yeah.
It was very much entrenched on how we grew up, what we were taught, what we believed. And we started to break them down, and we started to kind of come together in that way, but they were still coming from this place of the wall. It's like you reach your hand out to shake, but the wall is still there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that with people your age. I really don't. I see much more of a spirit of openness. I see more of a spirit of
watch out, because they're there.
They're definitely there. It doesn't just erase in a generation, but I think there's, at least from my perspective, I could be wrong, a step forward.
From what I've seen and the people I've met, if there's any level of depth perception, meaning like if they are capable of holding a conversation that is not about solidly the material world, there is hope, and they understand that what's the big deal? Like we should just love each other. At the core, I really do think that. But it is a big if, because there are still plenty. And my generation, y'all's generation introduced, or older really, but y'all's generation introduced like plastic surgery. We mastered it.
Those are the boomers. Don't put that on me.
Yeah. I guess I should. But like the idea of really putting up walls, like really, I'm not shaming, like whatever, plastic surgery, I guess do whatever you want. Like, I don't care. It's just the idea that we would have to be, we're at a point in my everyday culture that I experience being 23, Gen Z, on TikTok, like all of that kind of stuff. Like, you can't even tell if a person's face is their real face anymore. The filters and like I use them too sometimes. I mean, I don't even notice like beauty mode on, off, whatever the fuck that is. It softens your skin and brightens, whatever. I don't even notice. It's just a setting that the camera does, And I've had moments where I'm like, should I turn this off or should I turn this on? And it's like, does it matter? Like, does it really matter? And sometimes I'll purposely turn it off because I want people to see, like, I think about like the 12-year-old girls on that app that are like, I want them to know pores exist, like that kind of thing. And like, it's interesting though, I'm conscious, I am as an individual of those decisions. Sometimes I choose to put it on because I look tired and I just want to like stop a little. And that's nothing to be ashamed of, But what I'm not doing is sitting there having all kinds of shame ideas about myself attached to the filter or attached to my appearance or anything like that. I'm just going to move beyond it and put myself out there because, well, damn it, I have something to say,
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what really matters. Like, if you got a voice, use it. And I try and I do. And not everything comes out as super eloquent, but sometimes I have my moments and I allow that to happen and the moments to come and go. I like to believe it's a generational thing. Again, I don't know that for sure, but I'm open up to the possibilities. And I think one thing I've seen for sure is that real change doesn't happen all the time from the masses. A lot of the time it happens from the dedicated few. And I'm a dedicated individual. I surround myself with other dedicated individuals. And I do believe that the power of unification, even in small numbers, can impact positively the masses.
Yeah.
Even if it's just showing up, you know, and
absolutely. I mean, every great movement in history has always been, you know, a dedicated few. You know, you look at the abolition movement in the U.S. It was the Quakers who really drove the bus on it, and they were a very small minority, but they were a very vocal minority. Mm-hmm. And when everyone else was just kind of okay to twiddle their thumbs and let this just horror show go unabated, they're like, no, we're not going to sit on the sidelines. We're not going to remain silent about this. This is an atrocity beyond words, and we're going to be extremely vocal about it, and we're going to press to end this, and we're not going to rest until we do. And
seen the same with the civil rights movement. Seen the
absolutely.
Same with the feminist movement, and all of the waves that they have come in. And
it's always a few. It's always a few that drive the bus on the whole thing. It's never everybody.
You know, like I had an awakening in my last year of college when I was just in the print studio, and I was having a conversation one-on-one with my professor, Bob. I love that man. You don't understand. This man he's old. He's got his hands like totally fucked up from acid and like the acid bath of the print shop. And he tells stories like when he was my age, he worked daytime as a construction worker and nighttime as a ballerina. Like literally his life. And to me, that's a fascinating story, you know, and I hang on to everything he says and has everything he said in my schooling with him, even that like was making me call into question my own like sanity or my known insanity rather. I remember him saying like, people don't understand that we are art history. And the last paper that I wrote in college was for a different professor in the print school, and we had an 800-word essay. I could have just written about anything, but I decided I wanted to write an 800-word poem, a love poem to printmaking. And I need to find that. I don't know where. It's got to be somewhere. But I wrote this poem and I did all this research, and all of these artists that we look at and see their images and think, wow, this is history, you know, that they did that, very few people in a small room. And the reason why the print making aspect is so poignant to me is that print is a group effort. Like if you in a way that no other really a medium is, like ceramics you can do on your own, painting you do on your own, you know, you can work in groups, but printmaking is very much a craft that requires a team effort. And there's a person who designs it, there's a person who inks the plate, there's a person who soaks the paper, grabs the paper, dries the paper out with a towel, puts it on the press, grabs it off the press. Like it's a fully functioning sport. And there are players in all different positions, and it takes everybody, you know. It's a beautiful thing. And once he said that, like, I just got it. Like, our art history, we control what we do here. And, you know,
it's a canvas.
It really is. And it definitely just changed the way I look at life and a lot of different things. And God, I miss that studio. Really do.
That was great. Sounds like I
took it for granted. That's the thing. Those are the lessons. I didn't realize I was. I mean, I still think I have moments I look back on and like I spent time in there alone and I ate my lunch in there, and you know, I enjoyed my time in there, but I was late to school every day and stuff like that, where it's like if I had known anything, I would have probably changed my actions, but that's only opportunity for the future. You know?
That's part of the deal, right? That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Karina, this has been awesome. I'm so glad to pop on. I have to make some dinner right now.
Yeah, I actually
for this nourishment.
Time escaped me.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
I have another call back to back, so I'm glad I was able to eat it, and I hope you do eat your dinner. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for this conversation. It's been really rich. So.
And I appreciate you, and I look forward to having you on my show.
I'm excited.
And doing this all over again. And Osama, Anna Maria, all of you, come on down to that one too. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much.